Hi guys, in this series of web scraping in Python, we're going to demonstrate on how to use Beautiful Soup and extract the image source to local drive and store the image in Excel. So now, without any further ado, let's get started. To start with, we'll be using this website. The goal is we need to extract all this image from this anime website and store this on a local drive, then from local drive to Excel. So let's begin. For this demonstration, I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to name this as Beautiful Soup dash project. For this demo, I'll be using VS Code. And for the rest of you guys, you can use any IDE. It doesn't matter as long it has Python. So the only main goal here is to understand how to use a package called Beautiful Soup. Okay, so once ready, we need to create first our virtual environment. Okay. To create our virtual environment, we need to type Python -m venv and the name of your virtual environment. We're going to call this .venv. For those who are new to this chapter or to this video series, please check the first video and the second. I'm demonstrating that using Selenium. So at this point here, we're going to use other method which is called Beautiful Soup. Okay, so we're done. So the next thing is we need to activate the virtual environment. To do that, we need to locate this path, then copy the activate, and just copy this relative path, then paste it here, then hit enter. Okay, so once you're in the environment, clear this one here. So this is how you identify if you're in your working environment. So let's clear. Okay, I think that's good for now. So the next thing we need to do is we need to create a new file. We're going to name this one as webscraping.py. Okay, for this demonstration, we need to import our package. The first thing that we need to do is we need to call our Beautiful Soup. To do that, we need to type from ps4 import Beautiful Soup. Okay, so since this is our first package, so the first thing we need to do is to install that package. To do that, we need to type pip install bs4. Okay, so okay, good. So now that we install our beautiful soup, the next thing we need to do is we need also to import the request. So to do that, we need to type import request. Okay. Also, since this is another package, we need to install that as well. So we need to type as pip install request. Okay, good. Going to clear this one here. Okay, now that we have our package, the next thing we need to do is we need to perform a request using request. So to do that, I'm going to assign a variable here as request, perfect. And then we need to call the package, which is request.get. Now from here, we need to assign the URL. So to do that, we need to go back to our page here. And then I'm going to copy this website. Okay. And I'm going to paste that in here. So this is the anime website. Okay, so once already set, the next thing we need to do now is we need to apply that or import the information in Beautiful Soup. So to do that, we need to type soup equals to beautiful soup. Okay. Now, the first information that we need to get from our request is we need to get the content. So to do that, we need to call rec.content. And also, we need to apply a parser. So the purpose of this parser is to recognize the request. Okay, so for Beautiful Soup, it is called html.parser. Okay, so let's try. So the first thing I need to do here is I need to print the title. So let's check. Okay, so the purpose of this output is to check whether our setup in request and soup is working. So now, the first thing we need to do is we need to run that by simply type py webscraping.py. Okay, good. As you can see, we successfully extract the title from that website, which is anime watch anime online. So which means this code is working. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, the next thing we need to do now is I want to extract the image of that link. So to do that, we need to inspect our website. So let's go back to our website here. So since I'm going to capture all this website, we need to ensure that this group here and also this here are on the same group. So to do that, we need to right click, then inspect. Okay, this picture here, the first one, belongs to div with an ID of around image. And within around image, it was stored in image tag. Okay, so this is for image tag for this anime. So let's check, let's say this one. Okay, same goes. So which means I assume that this group here belongs to one group. So to make sure, just to make sure that they belong in one group, okay. Let's say going to pick this one. Going to inspect. Okay, same goes. This one belong to deep ID around image, and same goes, there are stored the image tag under here. Okay, so we understand now that this group here belong as one group. So let's check also the lower part. So same goes, we need to inspect. Okay, good. So notice this one also belong to the same group. So this belongs to deep ID around image. And let's check for the last time this one. Okay, same goes. Okay, clearly that this image here from top and the bottom belongs to one group. So it's easy to detect or to extract because it's very simple. The most common it's because they have a common things in their tags or source. So the first common source with this group is the deep ID. So from here, they belong to one group which is around image. So for some cases, this is the easiest part. As long they belong to a certain group, then you will identify that these things here are easy to extract. So let's begin. So the first thing we need to do now is, I want this information to stored as a group, and I'm going to call that as images. And I want that images to store in an array. Okay, from here, I'm going to perform a for loop. I'm going to call this as img, which is the img tag in soup. Okay, so that's how you call that one. And then we're going to apply the properties of find all. Okay, a while ago, the main parents belongs to a deep class or a deep. Then under that deep, we're going to check the properties value inside of the deep. And it was noted that it was belong to an ID group, and the ID group is around image. Okay. Now just to make sure, so again, I'm going to explain this again. We're performing a for loop to find all tags which is related to deep with an ID of around image. So going back in here, as you can see, this belongs to deep ID around image. Okay, so that's it. Now that we identify the group, the next thing we need to do now is we need to capture those images within that group. So to do that, I'm going to call, should I say images? Okay, I'm going to call that images, or the assign array. And I'm going to perform an append, which means I'm going to store all those images in this image array. So from here, I'm going to get the img assign. Then also going to perform a find method. So what's exactly that we're looking at? So the target is we need to find the images within that group. So the things that which is common is the image tag. So we need to apply the img, which is the image tag. Then once we identify that, we need to get the attributes, which is the source. Okay. Once we completed this loop here, the next thing we need to do now is to print the information. So I'm going to print the images. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to clear this one here, and let's try. There you go. As you can see, we successfully captured all the image tag within the parent of div ID around image. So yeah, so this is cool. So now that we identify this information, the next thing we need to do now is we need to save this information in our local drive. So the goal is all this image information, we're going to save that in our local drive folder. So from this point here, I'm going to create a new folder and we're going to call that as images. Okay. Now to perform the download or the saving part, we need to call another package, and that package is called import URL lib dot request. Okay, let's check. URL could be URL lib. Okay, cool. So this will help us to retrieve those information and store the information locally. So let's continue. So from this point here, okay, instead that I'm going to print that information, I'm going to comment this one here. Okay, the next thing we need to do now is to perform a URL retrieve. So that's the command for downloading that URL. So to do that, we need to type URL lib dot request dot URL retrieve. Okay. Now, what's the exact information that we need? The first thing we need to get here is the first properties here. It should be a full path. Okay. Here should be a full path, and this should be the destination. So this is the location of our images. So we need a full path for that to retrieve and store that in the destination, which is the images folder. So let's begin. So to do that, I need to assign this full path in here. So since we're going to extract the image, so I need to extract this one. Okay, so I need to paste that in here. Now the problem is this one only, as you can see our previous output, each output represent in this manner. So that's not really described as a full path. So what we need to do is we need to capture the entire path. So to do that, we need to review again our URL. Okay. As you can see, this is the image. I'm going to move this here so that's we have a clear path. Okay. Now this is the problem. The problem is this one only display a short path. So which means that we cannot get the full path for this one. The next thing, or the best way for this to identify what's the full path for this one, is we need to right click or simply let's check again. Copy link address. Okay, let's try first with this copy link address and see what's the output in our code here. So let's try first to paste that. There you go. Notice that when I copy the full path, it displays the full path of this certain image. So let's analyze. Since we have an output with this only certain path, the best way to do this is we need to concatenate this one with this information. Okay, so to do that, we need to copy this again and apply that in our full path. Okay. Okay, so for that to make an accurate full path, we need to apply this F, and we need to apply this dynamic information so that whenever there's a request, this one, oops, better like this. Okay. Okay, we need to cut the portion wherein it describes like this. As you can see, it has a following format with the /m, a /image, / and the file name of that image. So in here, that's described as to this here, from this portion here until here. So it's safe to say that we can remove this one here and apply our findings. Okay, so this will complete the whole path. So now that we already identify our full path, okay, so this should work. So that's the full path need for this URL retrieve. Okay, so now that we have identified the full path, the next thing we need to identify now is our destination. So for destination, I want to define this or assign or capture this information or these images, or whenever, let's say this one, this is Detective Conan. I want this information to store here that will save to our images. So to do that, we need to call our destination path. So let's say, I think it's better need to assign it in here. Okay, so from here, I'm going to assign the same concept. So the first thing we need to do now is to extract the image information and apply in here. Now, the problem with these cases like this one, as you notice, this was displayed as /image/ and then file name itself. Of course, we don't want to do it like that. So the best way to do this is, instead of copying the entire path, we need to capture only the file name. So we need to make it a clean saving information. So how can we do that? So the best way is we need to extract this full URL path and capture only the file name, which is like this one. So the target is we need to capture and avoid this information. So let's analyze that. Okay, to get a successful information, or how to do this one here, is we need to ensure that we need to first get the, as you can, let's say we can call that as the actual path. So for here, this is the actual path for that image. We need to chop this one so that we can only capture this file name. So let's say I'm going to assign this in our path. Okay, so from the path, I'm going to get first the first post. Then I'm going to search that path. I'm going to perform an rfind, and I'm going to find this /URL. Okay, this is the first thing we need to know. simply because as you can see, this was being traceable or displayed as this manner. So this is the first part that we need to identify first. Now that we already have the first post, the next thing we need to do now is to call the last post. Okay, I'm going to get the full length of the path. Okay, cool. Okay, then that's the time we're going to apply our destination. So we're going to apply destination, and our destination should be okay, so hold on. Okay, so our destination should be, let's say, I'm going to assign this as images, and here going to name the folder. So our folder is images, so that's our images, and the path. Okay, based from our example, we're going to store or extract the file name. So to do that, I'm going to call the path. And for the path, I'm going to capture the first post, increment by 1, so that it won't search any zeros if it found 1. And also, I'm going to capture the last post. Okay, let's check. Okay, so I think that should do. So let's check pull path. Okay, this is our pull path and our destination. Okay, let's try. I'm going to clear this one here. Then going to run our application. Okay, so we have an error on this section, but no, it should be R. Okay, yeah, I think I mismatched type here. Should be R fine. Okay, so I'm going to clear this one again. Hopefully it should work. Okay, now this is one of the cases that we're experiencing. Now if you're doing some extract using URL retrieve, most of the time there's an issue here wherein invalid URL can contain control characters. So just to make sure, we need to print our full path. Okay, we need to ensure that our full path here, because it says that invalid URL, so this is from anime.to. We're going to check our full path if this output the correct path. Okay, so it says okay, now you see. Okay, so it says here there's a space. I think I need to compress this. Okay, I think somewhere here. Okay, so guys, be very careful. Make sure, like this case, like here, you need to trace right away. So like this one, I noticed that there's a space in between. Now I already fixed that issue. Hopefully that should work. We're going to remove this one. And let's clear this up and run. Okay, Now that you see that we have another error. Now this time is a different error. So the error is URL lib error HTTP error 403 forbidden. Okay. Usually this happens if the website has a secure source, because as you can see, this use HTTPS. So definitely this is a secure source site. Now, how to fix that? Um, the best way to fix that, since it happens on this section here, we need to assign a headers. This will identify that what type of request that we're going to bypass. Now, how to bypass? Okay, to do that, to bypass the HTTP request, we need to apply the build opener and add the headers. Okay, to do that, we need to set up here, let's say, opener equals to URL lib that request, because that happens on the during request. They're going to perform a build opener. That's the first one. The next one is we need to set up the headers. So for the header, I'm going to add header. And from here, we need to assign what are these headers. Okay. For the headers, I'm going to paste this long header. Okay. So these are the headers required for this one. This will identify of what kind of request or what kind of browser that we're using. So since we're not focusing only on Mozilla, this applies to all the browsers that we have. So we need to set up all those browsers, like for this one, User Agent, Mozilla, Windows NT, Apple WebKit, HTML, Gecko, Chrome, Safari. So these are the things that require for this to work. So don't worry, if you found this not understandable, you can copy this from the web source. I'm going to paste this code on the description below. So just for now, just put this information so that you can copy it. You can post this video and copy all these required headers. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, now that we have identified our headers, the next thing we need to do now is we need to apply the install opener. So to do that, we need to call the URL lib that request that install opener. Then we're going to call our opener. Okay, so that's it. Okay, these are the requirements for this one to bypass the HTTP request, because right now we're having this error, HTTP error, which is set it's forbidden. So this will help. So let's try. I'm going to clear this up here and going to perform the webscraping.py again. Okay, good. As you can see, now it's saving directly to our image folder. So let's finish this first. Okay, cool. Let's check. So let's try one. Okay, that's nice. Hover, blue reflection, Dragon Quest. Okay, cool. So that's it. Now that we have managed to save this information in our local drive, okay, the next thing we need to do now is we need to save this information in our Excel. So how to do that? So to do that, we need to we need to assign a new package, of course, because this time, this is the hardest part, because this time we're going to need another package again. So for the package now, we're going to call the import xlsx writer. Okay, xlsx writer. Okay, so this package will help us to create or save this information to Excel. And of course, we need to install that. So to do that, we need to perform pip install this one. Very good. Now that we install this part here, now since we're now dealing with Excel, the first thing we need to do is we need to create a workbook. So to do that, we need to assign it as create a new Excel. To do that, I'm going to assign that in a workbook. And I'm going to call the package. From here, I'm going to create our workbook. For this workbook, I'm going to name this one as anime.xlsx. Okay, that's the name of our workbook. Next, I'm going to call our worksheet. From here, we need to assign our workbook add worksheet. Worksheet. Okay. Cool. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do now is after creating the worksheet, this time we're going to perform okay. The objective here now is I want to write or save this information in Excel. So just the information, not the image yet. So to do that, we need to perform, let's say up here, I'm going to write worksheet dot write URL. Okay, that should okay. Now our target here is I want to save the image information. Now, since we're dealing about Excel sheet, for this one, I want to save that information, let's say, I'm going to store that on, maybe going to apply a dynamic iteration. Because in Excel, if you know Excel, let's say going to store that in A1, so this information here will going to apply in cell A1. So since we want to apply this to all information, I'm going to perform a counter. So to do that, I'm going to apply a counter here. Let's say I call this variable I. And from here, going to auto increment that. So to do that, going to I equals to, let's say, plus equals to 1. So this is an increment of 1. Of course, we need to declare this variable. Let's say I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to assign a value of 1. This belong. Okay. So why 1? Because information in Excel should always start at 1. So whether what's the information, this will applies to cell A and the dynamic controller here, the counter. Okay, so what information that we're going to save? So for this one, I'm going to save this information. I'm going to copy this destination. Okay, so that's it. Okay. Then, of course, once we already finish or completed our writing in Excel, the next thing we need to do is we need to close our workbook. Okay, so let's check again. Okay, so let's try. Want to run this again. Okay, good. So I think we're already done. Let's check. Okay. Yeah. So now that we already created our Excel, now for this example, since I don't have an Excel, we need to install the Excel package. To do that, we need to search for Excel. So let's say you can use this Excel viewer. So to do that, you need to select this package here or this extension, and you need to install. Okay, so once you already installed this Excel viewer, now how to view that? From your file, you need to right click, then open preview. And there you go. Let's check. Okay, good. As you can see, we managed now to save our information in our Excel. Okay, so that's the first part. Cool. Okay. Now that we have managed to save the information from our Excel, the next thing we need to do now is to capture this or save this Excel in the, what do you call it? In the next sheet. Let's say for this one, I want to save the image next to this one. So this belongs to column A with these rows here. So I want that to display on the next column, which is column B, with the information corresponds to these images. So to do that, okay, okay, to do that, we need to type now the image insert. So first, same goes, we need to type the worksheet dot insert underscore image and the cell. Okay, same goes from what we did here, the right URL. So I'm going to copy this one here. Paste it here. So this time, I'm going to insert that information on Excel or on B column. Okay. Okay, now that we already saved that on B column, the next thing we need to capture now is the image source. In here, our image source is under this folder, images. So to do that, I need to call that by simply write F. Okay. Now I need to call the folder name. Let's say this is images slash the name of the file. So in here, I would suggest to copy this one. Okay. But since here we already identify the folder, so better, I think I will be copy this one. It's the best option. I'm going to apply that in here. Okay, hopefully that should work. Yeah, so I think this should work. Okay, so take note the difference. The first one, we just only perform the write URL. While on the second one, we are performing insert image. So let's try. Okay, good. Okay, let's try this again. So now, going to open this in here. I'm going to perform open preview. Okay. For some reason, okay, I'm going to close this just to make sure that this is the folder. Open preview. Okay. Okay. For some reason, this one won't display the image part. It's simply because, okay, I think we missed something from here. Let's say destination. Yes. Okay, that images slash the destination. Of course. The next thing, one of the requirements here is we need to scale up the images. So this is the method of insertion. So to do that, we need to scale what the size of information that we want to scale at. So to do that, we need to, hold on. Okay. Okay, we're missing a properties here. So from here, I'm going to insert the scale. Let's say I'm going to take up the X scale. So let's say our X scale here is 0.5. And with a Y scale, of 0.5. So this is a little smaller. So yeah, you can resize this one according to your request or according to your needs. But for now, I'm going to stretch this up into a little smaller. So let's try. Okay, so I think, yeah, I think it's already done. So let's check. Need to close this one again, then hit preview. Okay. For some reason, this is the limitation of Excel preview. So much better, we need to open this in an Excel application. So to do that, I'm going to copy this one and open this in Excel. So I'm going to transfer this to other directory so that we can view exactly the content. Okay. Now that I already paste that in my other directory, okay. Let's check first my audio. Okay, good. So I guess my audio is okay. Okay, now this is the actual export of our anime Excel. So you can see, as you can see here, the columns already filled of as of what we required in our activity. So let's move from here. So let's check the rest. Okay, it will be compressed as this one because the cell is little smaller, but still it works because it's saved on a specific cell. So like this one, Detective Conan. So we really captured the image of Detective Conan. So let's try other. Let's say this one, Jujutsu Kaisen. Okay, that's it. Okay, so that's it, guys. So if let's go back in there. Um, okay. Now that we have managed to export or download the image from the .url or the website, we already performs the extract or saving to location, and at the same time, we perform the saving the image to Excel. So if you find this video informative, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And see you guys on the next video series. Cheers!